Just because an airplane is airworthy, okay, it has all of its documents, doesn't mean it's legal to fly for this specific flight. There's some things we need to consider prior to flying other than just checking those documents like I did in a previous video. If you're new to this channel, I am Steven. I am a CFI out of the Rochester, Minnesota International Airport here. And on this channel, Right Seat Reports, I share lessons, insights, and real-world aviation experiences to help student pilots and aspiring professionals, well, navigate the world of flight. That's my goal with this channel. Today we're going to be breaking down Visual Flight Rules, VFR, required equipment, using two acronyms that maybe you're familiar with, or you're new to aviation, you're just like, what the heck is this? Every pilot needs to know these things. ATOMATOFLAMES and flaps. Who set a tomato on fire? I don't know. But this is the acronym we've always been using. So if you're a student pilot or checkride prepping or just an aviation curious person, you're in the right seat with this video. This is one of the most common checkride topics. This is also something pilots use in real life. Okay, we do this on a daily basis. Required equipment changes depending on whether you're flying during the day or at night, or if you're flying instruments, you're flying an instrument flight plan. If you're missing just one of those required equipment, this can ground the aircraft and you're not able to actually go fly. So, for the required equipment, I always reference FARs, the FAR regulations, Federal Aviation Regulations, 91205. This acronym is not in order based on the regulation, but it is all in there, believe it or not. We just formed this acronym based on that reg. Okay, so for day VFR, we use the acronym ATOMATOFLAMES to remember the required equipment. What is ATOMATOFLAMES? Okay, I will spell it out for you right here. A-T-O-M-A-T-O. I'm going to put F up here. Flames. Again, think like you lit a tomato on fire. I know. It doesn't quite make sense, but it'll work for you. You'll remember it because sometimes it's these ridiculous acronyms. First one, airspeed indicator. This has your white, green, yellow, and red lines on it, not your GPS that tells you your ground speed, what you're traveling over the ground. We are concerned with the dial, those colors. T is going to be your tachometer. Talks about how much power your engine's giving or how hard your engine is working. We see this in a car. You give it some gas, you see the RPMs rev up. Same thing with the plane. O, first one is oil pressure gauge, measuring the pressure within the oil system in our aircraft. Manifold. Manifold pressure gauge, if this is applicable to you. I say applicable to you, not every plane has these. Typically, constant speed propellers are where you're going to see a manifold pressure. We don't need to dive into that video now, but we can talk about manifold pressure in a later video when we talk about governors within a prop system. Next A is going to be your altimeter. That is an I. Altimeter. And that is an R. Altimeter, this tells us how high we are flying above sea level. Okay, altimeter. And it's got the Colesman window in there that you can adjust your pressure setting to accommodate for pressure changes throughout the world where you are flying. The next T is going to be your temperature. Gauge. Measures the temperature, whether that's your engine gas temperature, EGT, cylinder head temperature, CHT. Those are things we like to monitor. Temperature of the engine. The next O, this is another oil. Oil temperature gauge. This is if it's an air-cooled engine. Normally we can monitor and cool down oil if you are in a fuel-injected engine. There's some different systems that are involved there. So oil temperature gauge, air-cooled. F, fuel gauge, fuel quantity. I'll say 2 times. Why 2 times? It's going to mean 2 times in 2 different ways, okay? Don't get lost. So we have 2 wings, typically fuel tanks in each. So we've got a gauge for each wing. If one is off, can't fly, okay? Number 2 reason, we verify by visualizing the tank. We're going out to the tanks before we get in the plane. We look into each tank and we notice, hey, what kind of fuel is in that tank? What's in the other one? And we come inside, we turn everything on, and then we can verify what kind of fuel is in there against our fuel gauge. And if they're off for some odd reason, we have full tanks, but it's showing an E on the fuel quantity gauge inside, then we probably should not be flying, because now we can no longer gauge what's going on. Okay, our next one, landing gear position indicator. Okay, landing gear position indicator. Okay, we want to know in retractable landing gear planes, we need to have our 3 lights that show us, hey, our gear is up here, or our gear is down, our reds and our greens. We need to verify that they are up or down, etc. Can't go flying if we can't see it. Otherwise, it can be an emergency if we don't see them. So, something to think about there. A, anti-collision lights. We normally turn these on when we start up right before we start up the engine. This tells everyone to clear the area and, hey, we've got an engine running or we're about to start. So you'll always have these on. Those are our wingtip lights and our tail light. They kind of blink at us. Those are those lights. M, magnetic compass. You have something to tell us direction. We need to be able to see what direction we are flying. If we get lost and ATC gives us some type of heading to fly to help us out, or when we're doing, dead reckoning, we need to be able to calculate what direction we're flying, make sure we're going in the right direction. So you need a compass. E, ELT, emergency locator transmitter is what it stands for. Basically, it's in the plane, it's on our tail, typically because we don't want it to break, because then we won't be able to give off a radio signal. So check to make sure we got an ELT, make sure it's working, etc. We'll go through the maintenance log later in terms of how often the ELT needs to be checked, etc. But you do need to verify that you do have an ELT or emergency equipment on board. And S is going to be, well, straightforward, seatbelts. Regulations tell us we have to have seatbelts on board. So, if we don't have seatbelts, we can't go fly. We need at least a lap belt at minimum. Okay, if our plane does not come with a harness, that's fine. But if you have a harness, it's required for taxi, takeoff, and landing. You'll remember that from one of our regs. One of our regs covers that. So this list, ATOMATOFLAMES, is just the baseline. There might be things that are added to that. Maybe there are things that you will require yourself to have prior to going flying. Okay, maybe there's a minimum list that you have for your personal minimums. Hey, I need a GPS that's working. I need to make sure my VOR is working, etc. I need to have those things in order to go fly. You can add your own things to that list, but these are the baseline things. If you're missing any of the required items for the airplane, according to this regulation, for the conditions that you're flying in, the aircraft is not legal to fly. Okay, simple, plain and simple. Now, we just talked about day. Now we move into nighttime. Nighttime visual reference, VFR. Requirements increase now. We not only just have ATOMATOFLAMES, now we're going ahead and we are adding in flaps. So we dive into flaps. Flaps. L-A-P-S. Okay. Flaps. What does it stand for? Well, fuses or circuit breakers. Protect us against electrical issues. Okay, need to have extra fuses, or the circuit breakers need to be intact and working. L is going to be our landing light. Little caveat here. Okay, this is for higher. Okay, sorry about the bad writing, but higher. If you are using it to make money or you are flight instructing in it, landing light is required. If you are going and flying by yourself in your own plane, it's not required. Okay, which is strange. I always use a landing light. I mean, who wouldn't want a landing light? Who wouldn't want lights that are out in front of you so that you could actually see? So, but if you're flying by yourself, you don't need it. If you're flying, specifically also flight instructing, you are required to have a light. You're required to have that landing light on. Okay, A, again, is going to be your anti-collision lights. Again, just repeating this from the previous one. It's just emphasizing you need it at night. People need to see you. P is going to be your position lights, or I call them nav. Like driving a boat. On water, you have your red and your green light. Same thing on a plane. It gives you position, tells us where your wings are at. We know which direction you're flying, etc. Okay, and to power all these things, we need S. We need a source of power. Okay, source of power, alternator, battery, etc. We need something to help us power our systems, especially our lights, so people can actually see us. Okay, if we don't have a source of power, well, we probably should not be going to fly. Okay, so things to think about here with these 5 different items that we need. Night flying adds that additional visibility and electrical reliability requirements. Obviously, like I said, we need to be able to see, which makes sense when you think about it at night. We can't see as much, so we need extra assistance. One of the biggest mistakes I see with student pilots is, well, you're just memorizing these acronyms without understanding when to apply them. People apply flaps during the day. You don't need it during the day. Always ask yourself, well, are we flying during the day? Are we flying at night? What airplane am I flying? What type of operation am I conducting? For hire, not for hire, etc. Those are things to think about. In real world, pilots don't just recite the acronyms. They verify required equipment during pre-flight. They use the POH. They use checklists. They double check regulations to confirm the airplane is actually legal to make the flight that they're about to make. This fits perfectly with safety tools like our Aero and our PAVE checklist. Aero tells you whether the required documents are aboard, and then we've got our PAVE talking about our pilot, airplane, environment, external pressures. So we've got ATOMATOFLAMES and flaps. Now we're adding in some required equipment. Okay, so use these all hand in hand. So that does it for this video on required equipment. I hope this video helped you out and better understand the required equipment. Hopefully you took something away from this. Whether you're a brand new student pilot, an experienced pilot brushing up, or just someone who loves aviation, this channel is here to help you try to fly smarter and safer. If this video helped you, please go ahead, like I say, please hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment with any questions or scenarios you maybe want me to address in the future, or things maybe I didn't cover, or something that I made a mistake on. Please leave them in the comments. I'd love to know what your feedback is for this video. I would love to help you guys and support you guys as you continue to grow in your careers, or just learn more about aviation as you're pursuing potential flying, or just being an aviator geek like me. So, as always, like I say in every video, fly safe, and I'll see you in the right seat.